Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear is an interview with the Brigadier General of the Palestinian Security Forces, Anwar Rajab.
I don't know very much about his biography. I assume he's a party loyalist. He's the head of the security forces. He's the one who led the incursion into Jenin. He speaks harshly about the people who are anti-PA.
This interview was shot about 6 months ago in Ramallah, one of the biggest cities in Palestine's West Bank, and is perhaps even more telling now with the events that have unfolded in the past couple weeks. As of July 30th, Hamas, who now control less than 30% of the Gaza Strip, have agreed to the Trump-backed disarmament plan. That likely means turning in their weapons with the hopes that Israel will act in good faith and withdraw from Gaza, after which Trump and some other countries that have paid him $1 billion will move toward total control of the Gaza Strip through an organization called the Board of Peace, which itself is led by a 7-member executive suite composed of people like former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and Jared Kushner. Kushner is Trump's son-in-law, who described Gaza as waterfront property that could be very valuable once all the Palestinians are gone.
It's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up.
It should be noted, the Israeli government, as of August 8th, have rejected Trump's Board of Peace plan, hoping for even less Palestinian representation than people like Kushner are angling for. But regardless, all signs point to Hamas being on the way out in terms of power. This will leave just one armed faction left in Palestine with the ability to defend and represent its people, which is the Palestinian Authority, the current governing body of the West Bank, where 2.5 million Palestinians live, all existing under some form of Israeli occupation, though the extent of that occupation varies greatly between areas A, B, and C zones, as we explained extensively in the first 3 episodes of the series. So Area A, which geographically composes 18% of the West Bank and over half of its population, is technically governed by the PA, or again, Palestinian Authority, who historically are no strangers to the Gaza Strip. Through a political party called the Fatah, the PA was effectively in control of Gaza until Hamas won an election in 2006. Hamas beat the PA by a very slim margin, less than 4%, giving them full control over the Gaza Strip and the West Bank for that matter.
There's chaos and violence ahead. Militants of Yasser Arafat's party still unwilling to accept that Hamas won the Palestinian elections.
Then, a year later in 2007, PA President Mahmoud Abbas refused to concede power and declared a state of emergency before starting a war with Hamas, known as the Battle of Gaza, which Hamas kind of won, resulting in the expulsion of PA or Fatah authorities and their ultimate retreat to the West Bank, which they assumed governance of in the limited Area A capacity. According to the leaked Palestine papers and documents obtained by journalist David Rose, the US State Department and the Israeli government gave logistical aid, arms, and financial support to the PA during the conflict to prevent Hamas from taking power, which was not a total failure given the fact that Hamas was unable to extend governance outside the Gaza Strip. Part of the US and Israeli resistance to Hamas is because of their 1988 charter, which calls for the total destruction of Israel and demands a singular Palestinian state. The PA, on the other hand, would prefer a 2-state solution and are committed to nonviolence. They've held a ceasefire agreement with the Israeli army for over 20 years in the hopes that acting in cooperative good faith would earn them a seat at the table with the Israeli government when it came to deciding the future of the region. Yet, since October 7, 2023, the day that marks the Hamas attack on Israel, the Israelis have acted in anything but good faith with the PA, despite the PA's active condemnations of the attack and of Hamas.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has publicly condemned Hamas for its October 7th attack on Israel.
As we documented, the past 2.5 years have seen a dramatic uptick in settler violence in the West Bank, leaving nearly 1,000 Palestinian civilians dead, while their killers walk free with the virtual impunity provided by the Israeli court system. Additionally, settlements have now expanded far into Area A zones, supposedly controlled by the PA, blatantly violating the Oslo Accords and encroaching on the limited morsel of sovereignty afforded to the PA through its terms. The Israelis have taken other bad faith measures as well, like calling for the assassination of PA officials who still bring up the 2-state solution idea after October 7th. They've also held up nearly all of the PA's tax revenue in Israeli banks, preventing the PA from paying state employees, providing benefits for the disabled, building and funding schools, and just about everything else you could imagine.
مصاب في ظهري رصاصة ولا في عنا حدا يمد إيده إن.
With increasing poverty, strife, and of course non-stop violence by settlers, support for the PA has cratered, with many members of the public criticizing them for their ineptitude.
This authority, it has no power.
الإسرائيلي قوض السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية ومنع إمكانية المعالجة إلها يعني.
اليوم تبتكي عن جسم فهمت على موجود للسلطة مش قد تدفع رواتب للموظفين اللي هم فهمت علي إنك
السلطة ما لهاش عندنا أي سلطة. ما في لا سلطة راح تسوي إشي ولا الدول العربية مسوي إشي. ما دام هذول العالم في السلطة العوض على الله.
When we filmed in the West Bank, I spent a great deal of time trying to reach the PA for comment, but I kept getting stonewalled. Then, on my last day in Palestine, I was contacted for an interview by the Office of General Rajab. who said that he wanted to give Western viewers the truth about Hamas, refute those who claim the authority has no strategy, and last but not least, outline their vision for Palestinian statehood.
أنا اللواء أنور رجب المفوض العام لهيئة التوجيه الوطني والمعنوي والناطق الرسمي لقوى الأمن الفلسطيني. مهام السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية في دولة فلسطين هي توفير أولا الغطاء السياسي والقانوني لدولة فلسطين وتوفير احتياجات المواطنين الفلسطينيين وبناء مؤسسات الدولة لتكون قادرة على تأدية مهامها وتوفير احتياجات المواطنين اليومية وتقديم الخدمات سواء على مستوى الصحي أو التعليمي أو الإغاثي أو باقي الأمور الأخرى التي يحتاجها المواطن.
The PA's primary purpose is that of social welfare. They are the single largest employer in the Palestinian territories, directly employing 150,000 people. However, the freezing of their tax revenue by Israel that I mentioned has made it virtually impossible for them to pay their employees, resulting in a now 32% unemployment rate in the West Bank, which is the highest per capita joblessness rate in the world. Israel has also recently revoked the medical degrees of all doctors and scientists educated through PA universities, forcing these professionals to re-pursue higher education either inside Israel or abroad. To combat all of this and settlement expansion, General Rajab says he relies on the art of peaceful protests to make their grievances known.
ونعتمد أيضا المقاومة الشعبية السلمية في مواجهة إرهاب المستوطنين والتمدد الاستيطاني.
Rajab warns that any escalation or direct action against the Israelis would play right into their hands.
أولا نحن في القيادة الفلسطينية تدرك جيدا ماذا تريد هذه الحكومة. الورقة التي تريدها الآن هذه الحكومة هي أن تفتح مواجهة شاملة مع أجهزة الأمن الفلسطيني والسلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية، لأن هذه الورقة تتيح لهم تطبيق برنامجهم ومشروعهم وتدمير السلطة الوطنية في الضفة الغربية، وبالتالي نحن نتعامل بحكمة وبدرجة عالية من ضبط النفس لحماية أهلنا وحماية شعبنا بأقل الخسائر، ولن نذهب لمربع الذي يريد نتنياهو وسموتريتش، مربع المواجهة الشاملة بالمطلق، وهذا قرار سياسي وقرار القيادة الفلسطينية.
He says the PA must learn from Hamas mistakes when it comes to initiating violence, which he feels backfired terribly after October 7th.
نرفض استخدام العنف نضالنا ضد الاحتلال. We will not use the violence at all. فقط العمل السياسي والدبلوماسي والقانوني والمقاومة الشعبية السلمية. هذا مبدأ.
Rajab hopes that the international outcry from countries like France and Spain, who have formally recognized a Palestinian state, will then cause Israel to change its tone.
هذه المستوطنات وهذا التوسع الاستيطاني لا شرعية قانونية ولا سياسية له، وهناك رفض دولي وهناك قرارات دولية تدين وترفض هذا الاستيطان.
Israeli settlers had destroyed the school, they had destroyed that village, and we were just looking at it. And these hoodlums come in with machine guns, an M4, an American-made machine gun, and they detain us. They block off the road. And then they call the IDF, and the IDF is on their side, not on the side of the Americans.
Rajab also says that Palestinians shouldn't be too worried because Netanyahu will be out of office soon.
هذه الحكومة لن تستمر طويلا، وبالتالي في أي مشروع سياسي وأي اتفاق سياسي هذه المستوطنات لن تبقى. لن نذهب إلى المربع الذي يريد نتنياهو وسموتريتش، وسنلتزم بالقانون الدولي وسنلتزم برؤيتنا السياسية التي تعتمد على المبادئ التي تحدثت.
For some, the PA's nonviolent stance when speaking to outsiders, like me, is a smokescreen for how they treat their own people. They've been accused by hundreds of eyewitnesses of cooperating directly with the Israeli army, particularly in the clearing of Jenin camp, a mass displacement event that took place in the January of 2025. Codenamed Operation Iron Wall, the Israelis invaded Jenin under the guise of an infrastructure improvement project, and then instead began kicking tens of thousands of people out of their homes, burning shops, exploding gas lines, drying water wells, killing internet, and frying electrical grids. Here's an eyewitness account.
هسا احنا صرنا سنة و10 أيام يعني الجيش الإسرائيلي مطلعنا من بيوتنا مع فجأة واحد فاتوا علينا، فجأة طيران مع الجيش مع زنانات كله مع بعضه فاتوا فجأة واحدة. لا ما حذروناش يعني إنه بس هم فاتوا علينا فجأة.
بلشت في الطيران تقصف بالناس، ناس كتير تصوبت واستشهدت.
بلناش إنه من مرة نحرك بيتي، فيش حدا في المخيم،
ما حدا يضل ببيته. بالزنانة هاي اللي معاهم الطيارة ما حكونا إشي، خلص خلونا اخلوا البيوت، ما حدا يضل بالبيت. منطقة ما خلونا نركب بسيارات أصلا، مشونا مشي.
ما خدتش أغراض، ما خدناش ولا إشي.
كان هو لا عادي، أنا ما خفت، بس لما صاروا يطخوا على السيارة لما إحنا طالعين خفت. وبعده أنا عمامي عني ولاد عمي ولاد عماتي، حتى أنا عمي كسروا له العمود الفقري عندي. أخر أنا ولاد عمي استشهدوا الاثنين، وهسه عندي ابن عمتي وأخوي.
الشهداء عنا ثلاث شهداء عنا، ولاد أخوي 2 وبنت أختي، و2 أسرى عند اليهود. إن شاء الله بيعمل السلامة ونرجع دورنا وبروحوا.
How long have they been in prison?
As she mentions, 2 of her nephews and niece are in prison for resisting the displacement. Some of them are in Israeli prisons, but others are being held by the PA. She says it really makes no difference there. She hasn't been able to talk to any of them.
1 ونص. أبوه الأسير اللي عند السلطة أخرى 15.
طلع اعتقلوا.
What are their charges?
ابنه إداري بس هو بعده.
What do you think about the people that displaced you?
حسب الله ونعم الوكيل فيهم، والله ريتهم بيموت كلياتهم، الله لا يسامحهم لأنه بعده أخوي عني.
So it's been proven that during Operation Iron Wall, the PA was working in direct coordination with the Israeli army and took on the responsibility of cleansing terrorists from the camp. The terrorists in question were a Hamas-connected civilian group of militants called the Jenin Brigades, whose stated goal was to resist the Israeli destruction of Jenin and keep homes intact.
كان هناك مجموعة من المرتزقة يتم استغلالهم من حماس وإيران والجهاد الإسلامي تحت اسم المقاومة، ولا علاقة لهم بالمقاومة. الغالبية العظمى منهم لصوص ومطلوبين للقضاء، وبعضهم يمارس النصب والاحتيال والسرقة، يعني معظمهم مطلوبين جنائيا، ولكن تم استثمارهم تحت اسم المقاومة، وهذا غير صحيح. وإسرائيل كانت تراهم وتريد لهذه الظاهرة أن تكون موجودة، لأن هذه المجموعات كانت تعمل فقط ضد السلطة وليس ضد إسرائيل. وأيضا كانت هذه المجموعات مبرر إسرائيل لاجتياح مخيم جنين.
The PA then assassinated their commander, forcibly arrested protesters who demonstrated against the PA's actions, beat and interrogated both journalists and members of the Red Cross, and by Operation Zen, they killed 8 civilians and successfully put down the Jenin Brigades, making way for the Israelis to come in and displace all who remained. Rajab says they simply did what was necessary.
And the rationale behind what the Palestinian Authority was doing was very straightforward. It said that, fundamentally we want to prevent the Israelis from having an excuse to, putting us down. So, fundamentally what we're going to do is we're going to put this rebellion down ourselves so the Israelis don't have to intervene.
Some members of the Jenin Brigades, though, are still active and operating from the shadows underground. Here's one.
ظل الظروف اللي احنا قاعدين بنعيشها والقهر، ظل الحرب اللي احنا قاعدين بنعيشها وما قبل الحرب، فيش مقومات حياة عنا، يعني لا أطفال عارفة تعيش ولا شباب عارفة تأمن مستقبلها. احنا عايشين ومش عايشين. تهجرنا أول مرة من 48 وحاليا نتعرض برضه لنفس الشيء تقريبا، تهجير، ما فيش قرار غيره.
Rajab says the Jenin Brigades were far from the freedom fighters they claimed to be.
وعندما اجتاح الجيش الإسرائيلي مخيم جنين لم تطلق رصاصة واحدة على الجيش الإسرائيلي، دليل أنه هذه المجموعات ليست لها علاقة بمقاومة إسرائيل. استغلتهم حماس، لأنه حماس وإيران تريد فوضى في الضفة الغربي، لأنه هي لها برنامج يتعارض مع برنامج السلطة الوطنية، مشروع مختلف بشكل واضح وصريح. لن نسمح لأي مجموعات أن تستخدم السلاح أو أن تمتلك السلاح خارج إطار الشرعية الفلسطينية، وأي محاولات لهذه المجموعات يتم وإدها، تقوم الأجهزة الأمنية بملاحقة كل هذه المجموعات ومصادرة أسلحتها واعتقالها وتقديمها للمحاكمة.
Are you afraid of being arrested or killed?
الواحد عنده شوية خوف، بس برضه بنفس الوقت برجع بقول لك ما فيش حل ثاني. يعني فيش حدا بيحبش يعيش بسلام، بس هم مش معطينا هاي الفرصة إنه إحنا نقدر نعيش بسلام.
Rhetorically, the whole whodunit gaslight struggle is honestly most comparable to that of the American right wing, where people who used to be kind of friends are just constantly accusing each other of either being feds or compromised individuals in the pockets of larger forces. Hamas, the Jenin brigades, and many other radical groups see the PA as being controlled assets of the occupation, who are deceptively and coyiously pushing MLK-style nonviolence to clear the way for an Israeli takeover. And then the PA sees all of them as all religiously brainwashed Iranian assets, who are playing into the hands of the occupation by giving them more of a justification to invade, increase settlement expansion, and clear the way for more land grabs.
سبب مأساتنا هم السلطة، وسبب دمارنا هم السلطة، لأنه إحنا هم ما بدهم ناس تقاوم. هاي بالعربي الفصيح، بالعربي الفصيح بدهمش واحد يقاوم اليهود اللي عملته السلطة. ولا بني آدم في العالم بيقبله، لا بعيد عنكم، لا حيوان بيقبله ولا طير بيقبله ولا بشر بيقبله، حتى الحجر بنطق وما بيقبله. أنا عارف، أنا لو بدي أضل أحكي عنهم السلطة بوفيهم مش. القاضي مجرم والشرطة ابن حرام، كلياتهم بدي شو ما بقول لك عنهم. أنا يوصل ما يوصل مش سائل عنهم، أنا أذوني.
وكنا نعلم جيدا سيستخدم هؤلاء المجموعات كذريعة لاقتحام المخيم وتدميره. هذا ما كانت تريد حماس، هذا ما كانت تريد إيران، بغض النظر عن الأدوات. لا يهمها من يقوم بهذا الأمر، المهم أن يكون ضد السلطة.
What's one thing you'd want to ask him if you could ask him any question?
I would ask him just that. I would ask him, whose side are you on? The problem is that the PA doesn't represent the Palestinian people anymore. Most of the Palestinian people probably feel that as well.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm here in Berlin, Germany, not in Palestine anymore. But in today's episode, we took a closer look at the Palestinian Authority, the government that's supposed to represent Palestinians in the West Bank. But the PA are just one part of a bigger question hanging over the entire region, which is who will govern what's left of Palestine in the future. For that, I'm gonna pull up Ground News right here on my phone. So Ground News is a dope-ass news aggregate that I use every single day, specifically to compare how the same story is being covered across the political spectrum. Channel 5 has been a Ground News partner for over 2 years. And honestly, I'm proud of that, because Ground News is the best way to cut straight through the noise and figure out who's covering what and why. So, for example, on Ground News, let's search right now for the latest news about the future of Palestinian governance and the Board of Peace. So right here, I'm finding the story that says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects Trump's Board of Peace plan. It's a big story, so as per usual, we have hundreds of outlets reporting on it. So using Ground News here, let's see how the right and left are covering the same story. Starting with more left-leaning sources, The Guardian frames it as a rare public break between Netanyahu and Trump, indicative of a greater rift that's forming. Then you also have Al Jazeera focusing on Israel flatly rejecting the plan and refusing to withdraw its forces from Gaza. Then on the right, we have the big bad homies over at Fox News. Let's see what they have to say. Coming as no surprise, they actually take Netanyahu's side here, corroborating his concern that Hamas disarmament must be genuine as opposed to fictitious as it is right now, allegedly. Then even further right, you have the New York Post, once again siding with and rationalizing Netanyahu's refusal to withdraw troops until Hamas gives up its weapons. Same story, same beat, two totally different emphases. On the left, it's about the diplomatic rupture at play. Then on the right, it's more of a security position driven by an almost core distrust of Hamas itself. Both angles matter, and that's exactly why I use Ground News. It lays out the entire media ecosystem in one place, where each outlet falls politically, what factuality rating each outlet carries, and most importantly, what billionaire tech oligarch owns the newspaper pushing a certain narrative. And guess what? You too can be a part of this Ground News Channel 5 family. All you gotta do is go to ground.news/channel5 using the link in the description box and pinned comment of this video, or scan the QR code on screen right now, and you'll get a whopping, drum roll please, 40% off the Vantage plan. That's the best plan. All right, guys, back to Palestine. While it's easy to get lost in rhetoric and punditry when it comes to these complex issues, hardly any of that matters to the people on the ground, like the displaced families of Jenin camp themselves, who just want to go home.
يعني هجرونا منها، يعني احنا محرومين نشوف بيوتنا.
رجع من الله بس هو اللي رجعنا على بيتنا وعلى مخيمنا. كل واحد يرجعه على بيته، يعني احنا ما شو سوينا، ما سويناش اشي احنا يعني. بفكر وانا لا بقدر اكل ولا اشرب ولا بنام قد ما افكر ارجع على بيت.
Today, as far as the people that have been displaced from the Jenin camp, does the PA have any plan in place to try to find housing for them and make sure that they can, transition back to a normal life?
بالتأكيد هناك رؤية لدى الحكومة الفلسطينية للتعامل مع هذا الوضع في حال انسحاب الجيش الإسرائيلي من مخيم جنين ومن مخيم طول كرم. والآن يتم أيضا إيجاد حلول مؤقتة للنازحين من المخيم، سواء عبر أماكن سكن لهم أو توفير احتياجاتهم من الطعام والأكل والتعليم وإلى آخره من هذه الأمور. ولكن بالتأكيد لدينا خطة، فقط نريد أن ينسحب جيش الاحتلال من هذه المخيمات.
Like many things, he said, it felt very much like a rehearsed response, so I decided to keep it pushing. What do you think are the main issues that need to be solved on the ground right now in the West Bank?
هو يجب أن تتوقف هذه الحكومة، أن توقف هذه الحكومة إجراءاتها وسياساتها ضد السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية وضد المواطنين الفلسطينيين في الضفة الغربي، بمعنى الإفراج عن أموال المقاصة، السماح للعمال الفلسطينيين بالعمل داخل إسرائيل، رفع البوابات والحواجز ونقاط التفتيش التي تخنق الفلسطينيين، وقف إرهاب المستوطنين، والبدء بمفاوضات جدية حول إقامة الدولة الفلسطينية.
You keep mentioning the money thing. Are you saying that all tax revenue of Palestinians flows through Israel before it's redistributed to, essential services like water, electricity, and sewage?
حسب الاتفاق باريس، هي إسرائيل من تحصل الضرائب على البضائع اللي بتدخل أراضي دولة فلسطين، وبالتالي هي تصادر كل هذه الأموال. دائما التطرف يؤذي الجميع. سموتريتش وبن غفير لا يؤذوا الشعب الفلسطيني فقط، هم يؤذوا أيضا الشعب الإسرائيلي، وسنلمس ذلك قريبا. هذه العقلية المتطرفة لا تعترف بالآخر، سواء كان داخل مجتمعاتها أو خارج مجتمعاتها.
Oh, and by the way, the PA loves Trump, despite his cabinet's outright dismissal of Palestinian statehood. In recent months, some would say right on time, Rajab and the rest of the PA have officially co-signed Trump's Board of Peace plan in Gaza, which demands that Hamas disarm and hand over control to a UN-backed peacekeeping force, similar to what happened after the genocide in Rwanda in '91. So the Board of Peace is obviously in its beta form and still has some pretty glaring technical loopholes, but the currently drafted plan allows for the incorporation of a small committee called the NCAG, or National Committee for the Administration of Gaza. And that committee is led by, you guessed it, Ali Shaft, a lifelong member of the PA. Rajab hopes that once the smoke clears, Hamas is out of the picture, and the Fatah rise again over Gaza with the help of Trump, the Israelis will finally stamp down on expansion of settlements in the West Bank. And in the meantime, the PA can do its due diligence and clear terrorists from the West Bank.
فكرة الرئيس ترامب، رؤية الرئيس ترامب لفرض السلام والأمن في المنطقة، هذا شيء يجعلنا نتفائل في رؤية الرئيس ترامب مساعي الرئيس ترامب، جهود الرئيس ترامب لوقف الحروب في العالم، هذا أيضا يعطينا نوع من التفاؤل. ولكن نحن نريد أن نرى ضغط أكبر حكومة نتنياهو، الإجراءات والسياسات التي تقوم بها في الضفة الغربية، وتحديدا مصادرة أموال المقاصة وعمليات الاعتقال، عمليات المداهمات اليومية، تضييق على المواطنين والحصار الاقتصادي وإرهاب المستوطنين. كل هذه الأمور نحن بحاجة إلى ضغط أمريكي على حكومة نتنياهو لوقف هذه الإجراءات وهذه السياسات.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
It will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East.
Whenever you find people like this, militants, people in the West Bank who are armed and I guess plan on doing something or want to join some type of movement, whenever you say you bring the law down on them, do you prosecute them internally or do you turn them over to the Israeli security forces?
لا بنعدمه ولا بنسلمه للإسرائيليين، بنعتقله ويقدم للمحاكمة وفق القانون. لا نسلم فلسطينيين للإسرائيليين. نحن نقوم بملاحقة كل من يتجاوز القانون أو يقوم بأي أعمال مخالفة للقانون، نحن نعتقل ونقدمه للمحاكمة. وليس من حق الإسرائيليين أن يطالبون بتسليم أي فلسطيني، ولن نقبل ذلك. نحن نؤمن أنه بالنهاية سيكون هناك حل سياسي، ونؤمن أن ستكون هناك دولة فلسطينية. احنا اليوم 160 دولة تعترف بدولة فلسطين.
I stand before you today to recognize the state of Palestine.
Yesterday, Australia recognized the state of Palestine.
Italy strongly supports the dream of the Palestinian people to have a state.
Canada recognizes the state of Palestine.
ومنها دول كبرى، فقط الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية وإسرائيل، فقط في الدول المؤثرة الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، وطبيعي إسرائيل ألا تعترف، ولكن كدولة مؤثرة فقط الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية التي لا تعترف بدولة فلسطين حتى الآن.
Toward the end, the interview became genuinely confusing. Rajab pivoted from praising Trump for his vision to lambasting the US for not recognizing a Palestinian state, essentially admitting that the country he's looking forward to collaborating with on building a brighter future has no intentions on fulfilling the very promise of statehood that Rajab's organization has pledged to achieve.
نحن نريد أن نقنع العالم أننا شعب يستحق أن تكون له دولة وأن يحصل على استقلاله ويتحرر من هذا الاحتلال. نحن ندرك أنه إسرائيل لا تلتزم ولن تلتزم، ولكن نحن ملتزمون وسنظل ملتزمون بدعم من المجتمع الدولي وبقناعتنا وإيماننا سننتصر بالنهاية وسنحصل على حقوقنا في إقامة الدولة على حدود 67.
Well, if the Palestinian security forces, your guys' team, was a bit bigger, would you consider going up against the Israelis in these small contexts?
المسألة ليست لها علاقة بنوعية السلاح وعددنا والكذا. المسألة لها علاقة باستراتيجيتنا في إدارة الصراع مع الاحتلال.
Non-violence.
Non-violence. Okay.
Yeah. What you're saying is, with this current extremist government in power, like Ben-Gvir, you're saying that even if there was just one Palestinian village left in the West Bank, you would commit to nonviolence. Let's say they had everything surrounded, like, you know, and they were trying their best to provoke you, like Ben-Gvir's, and you would still say, I'm going to keep my hands up, just take what you want, and we're going to hope the international law is on our side in the long run.
Of course.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for your time. That was a great interview. As I left Ramallah, it was hard to tell if the PA was an asset of Israel or just so bogged down by the occupation's pressure campaign that they'd been forced into a concessionary position out of survival. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say it's a little bit of both. I mean, in some ways, Rajab is right. Going up against the IDF would be impossible and certainly backfire, especially after the US and Israeli armies have merged elements through the Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative, passed recently in Senate, making us, the US and Israel, collectively the strongest armed force in the world. Yet, on the other hand, the PA's good faith has hardly been respected. In fact, it's being walked on by the settlers and their military escorts every day. The metaphor that comes to mind is rock and hard place. But what fascinated me the most during my trip about the Palestinians is their refusal to see things that way. There's not one person that I talked to throughout my whole time in the West Bank who didn't truly believe that in the end, one way or another, Palestine would be free.
أنا متفائلة وكتير متفائلة. أنا متفائلة بس لأنه إحنا دارنا محدودة، الجيش مش رح يرجعونا، بس دارهم مو محدودة رح يرجعوهم.
كدرنا ينزل نشوف المرب العالمي، بس العالم إنها دور كبير تقدر توقف معانا، تقدر تنقذنا من هذا اللي إحنا فيه.
نتمنى من حكومتنا ومن نتوقف معانا وتعملنا يعني أشياء يعني نقدر نعيش بدون إسرائيل.
هذا مجبور، هذا مفروض، هذا ما في إلا تكون، إلا في الآخر إلا تكون في مجال، إلا تكون يعني رضوا ما رضوش، هذا إجباري بده يكون يعني.
For sure it's gonna happen. They accept it, they don't accept it. We believed that one day it will be a state of Palestine and without occupation.
Okay, thank you. Shukran. All right. Toward the end of my time in the West Bank, the news cycle shifted abruptly. A war began in Iran, mainly kicked off by the US and, surprise, Israeli-led assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who was killed by airstrike in Tehran on February 28, 2026. So already being in the Middle East, I did what I had to do and made my way to Iran in the immediate aftermath of his assassination. Here is a preview.
Where are you from? Are you
America.
American, okay. The first day that you got here, maybe you see that people are very friendly with you.
Today's the first day.
Yeah, okay, very welcome here. I hope it's going to be a very good trip with you. If we Iranian are chanting death to America here, it doesn't mean that it's death to the people. It doesn't mean death to American people. It means death to the imperialism. It means death to the system that's just making people slave.
تمام این ستاره‌های پرچم آمریکا خواهد ریخت و همه تجزیه خواهند شد. آمریکا نابود شدنیه. اینو من به شما قول میدم.
I mean, we're waiting for them to attack again.
How come?
Because we didn't finish the job.
باید این دو تا قطب سرطانی نابود شن.
از روز اولی که رهبر جمهوری اسلامی ایران، رهبر دوم جمهوری اسلامی ایران که اسمشون سید علی خامنه‌ای هستش، توسط رژیم آمریکایی، رژیم جنایتکار آمریکایی، توسط ترامپ بی‌شرف، ایشون که چیز شدن، شهید شدن، مردم از اون موقع تا حالا اومدن داخل خیابونا حضور پیدا کردن و شعارشون هم اینه ما تا
If you want to see our full documentary, War in Iran, head to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/channel5. If I had it my way, everything would be free. But hiring fixers, renting equipment, traveling across the world and fighting lawsuits against powerful people is very, very expensive and time-consuming. So we need your support. Channel 5, as mentioned, is a totally independent crowdfunded newsroom, and we can only make money three ways: merchandise, limited ad reads, and of course, Patreon, where a sizable army of real ones pay $5 a month to get access to an entire catalog of uncensored, early exclusive, and crazy-ass content. So if you want to support us and see more, again, it's www.patreon.com/channel5. I'm going to put the link in the pinned comment and description box of this video. Have a great day.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. And 5 is the best number.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's something I forgot to tell you about. We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now. We have 5 films on there right now. Film number 1, The Art of Protest, made by the homies over at Indecline, who we interviewed a few months back. Film 2, Rat Film by Theo Anthony, set in Baltimore, investigates the lives and times of the rodent population through the eyes of the people who love the rats of Baltimore, study the rats of Baltimore, or are paid to execute and trap the rodents of Charm City. Documentary number 3, Star Cash by Haley Garrigus, an amazing Wall Street documentary that follows the lives of market predictors, that's right, stock analysts who stare at the planets to figure out what's going to happen with the money. Documentary number 4, it's called Physician Heal Thyself by director Asher Penn, a fascinating lifelong profile featuring tons of archival footage documenting a physician, psychiatrist, philosopher, sorcerer of the mind named Gabor Mate. Very influential dude as far as addiction and trauma and healing. He's about as good as it gets. He's the top dog in that realm. So check that documentary out. Documentary number 5 is my own. Had to put my own sauce on there to get the train moving. It is called Finding Orson.
Baby.
I mean, where does he get this stuff?
Baby. Yeah, he's living in this area. Maybe we should go circle in that area too.
My name is Rick Shore, but it's going to be changed very shortly by a judge to Raphael, which is Hebrew for God heals. Baby. Hello, baby.
Orson?
This beautiful little parrot got his beak torn off, so he has trouble eating a little bit.
It's the animal soul and my soul communicating telepathically. I can communicate with any animal. Birds, cats, dogs, horses.
I need him back, man.
You know, it used to be called bird brain was a condescending thing to call a person because people thought that birds had small brains.
The term bird brain, who started it? And what's the agenda? Because obviously there's an agenda at play.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I think we should roll with it.
They're trying to keep us away from what could be the strongest bond in the animal kingdom.
You think it's conspiratorial?
I think it's
conspiratorial element.
Deep state cabal.
Deep state, don't go there. That's proof.
Of dog lovers who are connected to the ASPCA and probably funded by the kennels themselves. Think about Petco. There's a dog in the logo. Who owns Petco? Blackwater. What do? Finance the Iraq War. Provide CS tear gas for the National Guard in Portland.
You're on a roll, dude.
I just care, man.
Huh?
I just care about the birds.
You just care about the birds.
Think about it. When's the first time you heard bird brain? And when's the first time you heard someone refer to a dog as man's best friend? You think the dog came up with this? No. Think about all the films like Air Bud, where they promote a human-canine union. You ever seen a bird star in a film?
How long have you been thinking about this, bro?
My whole life.
Just because they have a small brain doesn't mean they're not intelligent.
He said the reason he reached out to me is because I'm Jewish.
He's talking about apples. He discovered a new kind of apple.
Unfortunately, it was not Little Orphan.
What do you think the likelihood is that we'll find our friend's bird?
Very, very unlikely.
He probably is in somebody's house right now and they don't know how to get in touch with him. I don't hit him. I just hold him really tight and I say, no. It's the only thing I got. I got a rare disorder I've been struggling with for 40 years. My girlfriend died of MS.
He was in a lot of pain constantly.
Hello, baby.
To him, Orson symbolized more than just the loss of a pet. They were best friends, and Orson was the only living creature he had left, the only person who told Rick that he was loved.
Orson?
So those are the 5 films on C5.now. A totally independent, creator residual forward, power to the people documentary platform, not gatekept by Hollywood. And what's unique about C5.now is that unlike the major studios, we're not afraid to take a risk. And of course, pay creators fairly. The link is in the pinned comment and description box of this video. And most importantly, it's not just a website. It's an app on your phone and a smart TV app. So get your popcorn, get your remote, sit down. It's time to learn. I'll see you guys soon.